So I just watched Godzilla vs. Kong. So this is going to be a spoiler review. So if you haven't seen the movie, make sure you watch it. So Godzilla vs. Kong. So we know who won the actual battle, and so I'll get to the actual battle near the end of the review. So Godzilla vs. Kong starts off, and Godzilla now, who in the previous WB Monsterverse movies, Godzilla ends up mostly being presented as being an ally to humans in the end, and not necessarily an outright threat. But obviously this movie starts and Godzilla seems to be attacking this spot, and I think it was Tokyo. There's this place we can get this sort of weapon that'll help us fight Godzilla, and the place we gotta go is called the Hollow Earth. So it's basically, it's like some underground, they're going inside the Earth basically, so it's a little journey to the center of the Earth-ish. And they figure oh no, but we don't know what's down there. And people that have been actually sort of, I guess, supervising Kong for all these years, since the first Kong movie takes place in the 70s, so before Godzilla reemerges and stuff in the other movies. So we find out they're on Skull Island still, and they've made a force field sort of on Skull Island, and they've kept him kind of contained in it all this time. And so that's where the movie actually starts. And that was one thing I really liked about this movie, just like the way it started and just how much time we get to actually spend just with Kong specifically. I think this movie actually does the most to kind of, I guess you could say, humanize its monster characters of this franchise so far. Kong specifically. Godzilla, I don't think gets quite as much screen time. The people sort of looking after Kong decide, okay, maybe Kong can actually be our guide into this place, this Hollow Earth place that they've sort of found in their research, but aren't sure really what's down there. But they figure it's similar basically to sort of the makeup of Skull Island, so Kong may actually be able to live there. They figure sort of in peace, because right now they've kept him contained since Godzilla emerged. They figure, maybe they'll sort of kill two birds with one stone. They can sort of get this weapon they need if Kong can guide them there safely, and also Kong can sort of stay there and live there in peace, and they won't need to keep him in a force field anymore to protect him from Godzilla. I know the human characters have sort of been the big complaint of this whole franchise since the beginning. I didn't mind the human characters that were on the Kong side of the story. They were new, and the newer characters, they weren't really, they were still pretty two-dimensional, but I found them likable. I didn't find them irritating or anything. The Godzilla characters, some of them returning ones like Millie Bobby Brown, and the new characters they brought in that they're sort of a trio with, I was not as big a fan of them. The cinematography in this movie, I think all the monster movies, but this one especially, I know a lot of it's CGI, but the cinematography, I gotta say, still is just really, really fantastic, in combination with the amazing CGI, of course. It really makes you feel the weight and the sort of the size and intensity. Yeah, the battles between Godzilla and Kong are really awesome. It's definitely, I would say, hands down the best sort of monster action in this franchise so far, in my opinion. So the big first encounter is when they have Kong sort of restrained and sedated to some extent, as they're just trying to bring him to get to this place in Antarctica where there's the entry to the supposed Hollow Earth. But yeah, so on the way, when they're in the middle of the ocean, then since Godzilla does often stay in the ocean, so he attacks. Yeah, ultimately though, Kong just sort of barely makes it out by the skin of his teeth, actually with a bit of help from the human characters. Managed to sort of get to the controls and free Kong, and they're actually about to all drown. And then when Kong gets free, he's able to sort of fight back enough against Godzilla and just to be able to stop him from drowning. And then also he was able to flip the ship so all the human characters don't drown. So that was cool. That was a really cool sequence. Go to the Godzilla side of things, and I do think this was the weaker half of the movie, sort of. Godzilla himself is cool, but he's not actually in it that much, I don't think, compared to Kong. The human characters that we're following, like Millie Bobby Brown's character, as I said, and then her friend, I forget the character's name, but he was the guy from Deadpool 2. And then I do remember, I think this might be the only character I actually remember the name of. So Bernie is this conspiracy theorist that Millie Bobby Brown's character and her friend from Deadpool basically find. They're here, him doing broadcasts, and he's working for this organization called Apex Cybernetics, I believe. don't get me wrong, I had fun still, even during their scenes. Like, I was always a bit like, we're back to this, but at the same time, I wasn't bored. I was having fun. So, yeah, they go on their own little adventure throughout the movie, so trying to sort of uncover what Apex is doing, and we'll get more to that later, but then we go back to our other sort of crew of characters, the ones I like better personally. So there's Alexander Skarsgård's character, Rebecca Hall's character, and then the little girl with them. Like I said on this side, the little girl was pretty good. I think I liked, as far as child actor goes, I think she was actually pretty strong in this. Yeah, and I guess she's deaf. She communicates with sign language from Skull Island, I guess, and I think her family was killed or something, and Kong sort of protected her since. And now Rebecca Hall's character, who's like a scientist and stuff, looks after her like a daughter too. So she's able to communicate with Kong. You don't actually find out till later in the movie, but like she actually is communicating with him. Kong knows sign language. That's pretty cool. So yeah, like again, this movie just does so much great for Kong, I gotta say. Like he really like fleshes him out as a character, like I think as much as you can for a big monster kind of character. And the CGI and the motion capture and the acting for him is just absolutely fantastic. And he really is, I would say, the protagonist of this movie. Then there's also, I guess, Isaac Gonzalez's character, who was sent by Apex. The evil villain guy who's in charge of Apex is actually her dad. So he sent her there to get some information and to get the sort of the thing they're after, because he wants it for his own ulterior motives that we'll get to later. And so then we finally get to Antarctica. First, they don't know if they're going to be able to get Kong to like go into this entrance, because he's like, well, what's happening here? And I don't know, you really feel bad for Kong. He's like, he's really quite emoting in this, I think, even more so than in Skull Island. Yeah, so you really feel for him, and the girl sort of is able to, once they kind of learn the girl can communicate with him, they get her to sort of say, oh, Kong, well, you got to go in there because your family might be in there. And they don't know that they will be, but they don't know what other way to try to get Kong to go in. Kong goes in once they convince him, and then they go in their ship thing. And this is like one of my favorite parts of the movie. This is when it gets really cool. And yeah, going into sort of, it gets all like Journey to the Center of the Earth, and it's really like just the effects and everything are just really stunning down there. Again, almost like an Avatar vibe, and really like otherworldly and really colorful and just beautiful to look at. And it's really exciting as they're following Kong down there, and Kong sort of swinging from like the ceiling of the like ceiling of the inside of the Earth. They end up going through like portals and stuff, and they finally sort of really get to the meat of this hollow Earth, and it's a whole like world in there, and it's full of other kind of creatures and stuff. And at first they almost get attacked, and then Kong saves them from some other ones, and he just brutally like rips apart some monsters. Yeah, that was really fun to watch.
That's gross.
Eventually he ends up finding you find like this sort of temple place he's sort of like guides them to, and this is where this like weapon, I guess they want, is that they think can sort of defeat Godzilla. The other side of things with Millie Bobby Brown's character and all that, so they get into sort of Apex's facilities, her and her two companions, and then basically the big reveal, I mean, but it's not really that big a reveal, because I don't know why they showed this in the trailers, or I think they did, because everyone seemed to know about this. I knew about this, and seemed to be common knowledge that the sort of really the real villain of this movie, what Apex is working on is Mecha Godzilla. This Mecha Godzilla is sort of sending out the signal that's making Godzilla, the real one, come there. And it's in Tokyo. That's where he's attacking. So we find out that's why he's been attacking. So he hasn't been doing it. It's sort of like an instinctual thing. He's been like trying to figure out, wow, why are they trying to make another one of me? So it wasn't really his fault, I guess. But unsurprisingly, I mean, we find out Apex is the real villain here. So then back in the Hollow Earth with the Kong side of things, we find out now, I guess they've traveled all this way, unless I missed something, I guess they traveled all this way from Antarctica, like under the Earth, all the way to like being under Tokyo, I guess. So, yeah, so now they're lined up with right where Godzilla is attacking and stuff, and Godzilla, like, I guess can pick up, since he knows they're under him, that something that's gonna... that Kong activated, so he like sends his like blast of power from his mouth that he does like down there, and then Kong's like, this guy again, and he goes up to the Earth, and this is when finally the big actual battle between the titular battle between Godzilla and Kong takes place. It's very cool. It's very, very awesome. Really cool stuff. It's pretty glorious. The CGI and the sort of just the cinematography and just the epicness of it all. I still felt like it was a bit short. I mean, just based on earlier reviews, they're saying, "Oh, this is really everything you can want," and like it is, but it's still kind of short. So I don't know. I don't really agree that like this is like superior or something to the fight in like Batman v Superman or something. Yeah, in some ways, I like that one just as much or more, and I like that movie more still. Just I know it's probably an unpopular opinion, but because I don't know, the actual fight between them at the end really wasn't that much longer than the one between Batman and Superman, was it? Because people complained that that actual fight of that movie wasn't that long. But I guess Godzilla and Kong have a fight earlier. But I don't know. That being said, Kong actually does pretty good at first and sort of beats the crap out of Godzilla. And they even say Kong won round 2, it looks like. Then the final battle really happens between them. And yeah, Godzilla kind of kicks Kong's ass. And yeah, that actually surprised me a bit. Most people seem to be in the camp that Kong was going to win, or at least wanted him to win. And I know I like Godzilla, but I don't know. I definitely, in this movie, like, I mean, how can you not root for Kong? Like, you just feel for him so much the whole time. So I was rooting for Kong. So I was a little bummed out when he, yeah, I would say that was sort of, if there was a winner, I would say that was sort of the moment that determined it, that third round between them. Because yeah, Kong like is almost on the verge of death, and the humans actually have to sort of use one of their vehicle things to sort of recharge him. And then I guess speaking of, I guess again going back to Isa Gonzalez's character, before she died, she does get, I guess, whatever thing her dad wanted from the Earth that they need to fight Godzilla and stuff, and she sends it to him somehow, I think. But basically, once they put that into Mechagodzilla, because up until now, one of his guys, the guy at Apex, one of his men was sort of controlling Mechagodzilla like a VR headset with like a VR headset. But yeah, as soon as they put this energy stuff in him that they were looking for, then that guy's brain just gets like fried, and suddenly it makes Mechagodzilla like pretty much sentient, and he's like in control now, and he kills pretty much everyone at Apex except our protagonist, except Millie Bobby Brown and her 2 friends. So now, after Godzilla sort of beats the shit out of Kong, and Kong's pretty much dying, then Mechagodzilla comes along and starts beating the crap out of real Godzilla. And it's not until, so then it really ends up being the humans once they recharge Kong and save him from death. And yeah, the little girl tells him, oh, Godzilla's not the enemy. And then just in the nick of time, Kong, recharged and alive again, comes in pretty much like, I think he just rips Mechagodzilla's head off. And then you think almost for a sec, once they've killed Mechagodzilla, then Godzilla gets back up and you think, oh, are they going to fight again? And then they just kind of like, are like, ah, okay. And they go their separate ways. And everyone's just kind of there. Millie Bobby Brown reunites with her dad, and they say some corny lines. One thing I do have to say, I did feel a bit odd about it. I mean, I know people probably didn't want this maybe because it would need more time with the human characters, and I'm not sure. I heard they actually might have cut out a bit, so maybe they had something like this, but I felt a bit odd. Like, the movie felt like it never really came together in a way for me at the end. Like, it's weird how you have these 2 kind of groups of people, and then they sort of just, you know, they never really converge or really interact whatsoever in the movie. It's like Team Kong, Team Godzilla, but the actual people never really have any impact on each other or even like speak directly. So I felt that was a bit strange. I don't know, unless they were like waiting for future movies for them to meet up. Overall, really, really enjoyed this movie. It was an absolute blast, and yeah, but unfortunately, I think it still has a lot of the same issues as the other ones. It has more of the good stuff than the other ones do, I think, or at least definitely than King of the Monsters did. But I think it was definitely the most entertaining movie in the franchise. But it's still, in some ways, it had, I would say, the human characters, like on the Godzilla side, since I didn't like them in King of the Monsters, I still don't like them now. They're still, I would say, in some ways worse than the human characters in both like the first Godzilla or Kong Skull Island. But the new characters on the Kong side I didn't mind. So at the end of the day, I think it ends up being about on par with the first Godzilla movie from 2014 and Kong Skull Island from 2017. And all 3 of those, this one included, are leagues better than Godzilla King of the Monsters from 2019, in my opinion. So yeah, it's about on par with those 2. And so like those 2, Godzilla vs. Kong, I will be giving it a 7 out of 10. Really entertaining time. But still, at the end of the day, you know, you get what you get with it. If you're wondering, I am planning, still, as you could probably see from like my homepage and stuff, the way it's themed and stuff, I am still planning to do a review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. I did shoot a review, but right after I watched it the first day it came out, and I just felt like that one was just a lot to take in, and I loved it, by the way, spoiler alert, but I felt like I need to see it again, which I have since then, but I also want to sort of watch the Justice is Gray version even too before I give my full review, because that was just so much to unpack, and yeah, so I am planning to do a review of that still sometime soon, just in case you were wondering. So yeah, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.